I never expected to not only be this close to seeing Dead Island 2 release, but also getting some actual gameplay for it, which shows a ton of new features and looks pretty promising. But there are some things I'm pretty iffy about and some bad news for Dead Island 2 as well. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments of this new Dead Island 2 gameplay that just came out a few days ago and what it looks like so far. If you didn't hear, Dead Island 2's release date also got moved up by about a week to April 21st, which is announced when they went gold, confirming that the game was pretty much ready. And this was pretty surprising with how incredibly frequent release date delays have been, and out of all the games that you'd think could be delayed again, it'd be Dead Island 2, but instead they went ahead and pushed the release date earlier, which is almost unheard of. So hopefully none of y'all requested off from work for that original release date, which I think was like the 28th, because now it's the 21st. Obviously the biggest thing everyone is talking about is the progressive flesh and gore system that the developers have talked about quite a bit in the past gameplay reveals, like the one that they had not too long ago with Game Informer. Say what you want about anything else in the gameplay, but this system itself is really badass. It's the first I've noticed damage that actually looked next gen. In Dead Space's remake, you noticed a lot of cool gory effects, but nothing to this extreme where each hit deals more and specific damage to that part of the zombie, where you can completely knock off a zombie's mandible, like this dude, or punch the next zombie through his head and actually see through to the back of his skull. There's also an explosion in the gameplay where the zombie actually wanders back over and has its skin completely torn off. What better type of game to have this insanely detailed type of system than a zombie game? I'm just waiting to see what this looks like and how in-depth it is on last gen consoles. I'm surprised this game is even able to come out on last gen consoles with such an advanced, like, deteriorating system like this. The only thing is that you're probably gonna see a lot less Dead Island 2 YouTube content because these kills are like instant demonetization. Speaking of those explosions though, instead of the cliche red barrels that hit your gamer instincts to shoot whenever you see them, we've also got some conveniently placed blue ones as well that have this like shock effect. Like they just got some lightning in a jug. It's probably just water in them, but that's even more of a conveniently placed object if so. Not that it really matters. I personally haven't taken these Dead Island games very seriously in terms of realism or story. It's more fun just slaying zombies with some friends, which if you haven't heard, sadly is going to be stuck at 3-player co-op instead of the 4-player co-op in Dead Island 1 and Riptide, but also a massive backpedal from what they were aiming for with Dead Island 2's 8-player co-op that it was originally set to have, which is a little disappointing. I mean, ditching 8-player co-op is totally fine since that just sounds chaotic, but a lot more annoying if you were planning on playing with multiple friends since, I mean, let's be honest, a 3-player max co-op is a bit of an odd number, especially since there are like 6 playable characters. And you can get an idea of how goofy the story is probably going to be with this sort of California hippie type cliche character that every Far Cry game has for some reason.
Hello?
Sorry, zombie, party's over.
The story will likely not be anything too serious. I mean, I don't think most people are expecting some like groundbreaking story. It'll probably be a bit goofy, hopefully at least bearable though. Like I said, I feel like I've caught these vibes playing any Far Cry game that's released in the last few years. Not like it's Dead Island's fault, but these over-the-top wacky characters feel like they've been beaten to death for me. I know this is all a bit judgy to take away from my small little clip, but that's just my first thoughts with it.
Were you getting the pizza, or were you fighting zombies in the yard?
Feeding pizza to the zombies.
Oh, right.
You say pizza?
Right.
The developers have called this sort of a pulp-like story that will immerse you in the universe, which usually to me means that it'll be a little bit wacky or over the top, but I think we already sort of knew that since that's exactly the type of game Dead Island is. Besides that, I love how this encounter and one of the ones that the narrator skips over at the beginning of the reveal.
Are you still out there? Can you hear me? Blasted. Hello? Don't run away. We need to help each other.
Let's ignore this request for now and continue towards the helper.
Feels like that signature unmarked sort of side activity that you can completely miss in the first game and choose not to save that guy that needs help or just accidentally miss it because you weren't paying attention.
Oh, fuck. Jesus Christ. If you hadn't come along. You want to come with me? I'm gathering any supplies I can find at the water sports rental kiosk. Maybe you'll find something that'll come in.
We already talked about the gore system, but going back to the weapons and combat, the weapons and the customization for them so far seems pretty extensive. You've got shotguns, an Uzi looking little submachine gun, a kitchen knife, which I thought was actually pretty cool because it looks like you just grabbed it out of someone's home, as well as a few different assault rifles, and we probably haven't even seen all of the weapons in Dead Island 2 yet. There also seems to be a ton of customization to smack different attachments onto each weapon to make the variety feel even bigger. If you're interested, I'm not sure how great this weapon will be be, but signing up for their newsletter at deadisland.com/weapons will let you grab the Trickster Smile knife as a bonus weapon. What I'm most interested in is the combat in general though. For one, you've got this maimed phrase repeating on like all of the zombie kills for really no reason. Like it's the only phrase that seems to take place, so it's just weird to even emphasize maimed. I'm hoping there's at least a setting to toggle the words and damage indicators off because they are like very in the way. There does appear to be a very large amount of different zombie models, where usually it's super easy to differentiate the types of zombies because you've got like one or two generic male and female models. But here you've got like the soldier models, which are interesting because they've got multiple patterns of camo. I think one had like the digital camo and another one was rocking a little older of a uniform. I don't know if this guy just came back from the dead in World War II or what. You've got cops, a doctor or something, and all these different nurses and differently dressed zombies, which makes it feel a bit more immersive. When using melee weapons, it also seems like there is a lot of this like slow-paced heavy smash attack type of deal going on, and button prompts to perform specific actions on that zombie. And that's probably the biggest thing I really dislike about the gameplay. Nothing takes me out of these types of games more than this like scripted hand-holding style of combat event that happens. Like if you want the zombie to fall to its knees, that's cool, but just let me hit it after. For guns, it seems as though you're completely free to just unload on everyone, since your guns will not deteriorate and break and not need you to repair them, which is a huge plus. Skill cards, which give your character special abilities, will play a large role in the gameplay, even allowing you to combine multiple abilities to create a sort of even more special ability, really adding to the arcadey style that the game gives off, but also gives the combat a bit more depth, and these skills can be looted across LA or acquired by leveling up. For example, we saw the dodge skill multiple times throughout the gameplay reveal, which if timed correctly will stun the enemy and give you time to counterattack. The drop kick we saw get used to kick a zombie through a window, and the war cry card, which buffs your teammates. We don't exactly know how many areas you'll be able to venture through, other than the fact that there are at least 4. Of course, being set in Los Angeles, you'll have different sections to play through, such as downtown and all of that. We just don't have a lot of details yet as to how in-depth those areas will be, what size they'll be, and if there will be any outside of that. I just hope that on console the controls feel good. You can say what you want about Atomic Heart, depending on who you ask. The game is either awful or a masterpiece, but the gameplay and combat felt incredibly smooth. I'm not sure I've ever played a console version of a single player game that felt as crisp on controller, especially on release. I really hope Dead Island feels as good, or at least close to that good, since it does look pretty good in the gameplay, or at least however much you can even tell with this like demo style of gameplay. Either way, it is a massive improvement on the gameplay that has been leaked over the past few years, really not looking like the same game at all, which makes sense considering it's been being developed for around 8 years or so. But I am incredibly hyped to play it. For the most part, it looks like exactly what you'd expect from a Dead Island sequel. Leave a like and let me know what you guys think about Dead Island 2 down in the comments. See ya.